Greetings troopers. So given the relatively modest success of my Coruscant Under the Empire videos, which is also no doubt the video a lot of you came across my channel from, I have decided to experiment with that idea, but instead broaden my scope a bit. Instead of limiting myself to talking about just the planet of Coruscant, I figured why not focus on the whole galaxy, and how that is affected by the presence of Sidious's galactic empire. Today we'll be looking at the corporations and companies that served under the Empire, and we'll be looking at their history, what companies there are, what they manufacture, and so on. But with that, feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoy Empire content or just Star Wars content in general, and maybe feel free to share this video with other like-minded Star Wars fans to show your allegiance to the Empire. But without further ado, let's talk about galactic corporations. Now, manufacturing corporations and companies have been around since the early days of the Old Republic, producing and distributing many products and technologies out to the citizens of the galaxy. These products range from droids, droid parts, ships, computers, hyperdrives, fighters, walkers, holopads, and all sorts of tech you see used by everyday people. These manufacturers have definitely left their mark, which isn't always good, as they have been responsible for manufacturing weapons of war and mass destruction for the many military forces that have existed throughout galactic history. When the Clone Wars came rolling around, the Galactic Republic was looking for war machines and ships to be used by the Grand Army of the Republic against the separatist forces plaguing the galaxy at the time. A few notable manufacturers responsible for many of the tech produced at this time were Kuwait Drive Yards, who were and still are responsible for producing the large warships such as Venators, Architans, and the Assault Walkers even. Sienna Fleet Systems, who were and still are of course responsible for producing many of the small, nimble and hard-hitting fighters that fought alongside capital ships, and Blast Tech, who provided the troopers of the Clone Wars with blasters and many different types of weaponry, with many more companies also trying to get the attention of the Republic. Fast forward a couple years and we reach the present day during the Age of the Empire. After the fall of the Republic, these manufacturers now find themselves left with a huge opportunity to make a profit under the Empire, and make a profit they have, with Kuwait Drive Yards being able to secure commissions to design and construct ships from the Emperor himself because of their prevalence during the Clone Wars. Under the Empire, Kuwait are responsible for constructing the huge naval fleet of Star Destroyers that the Empire uses, with multiple models being constructed over the years leading up to the Galactic Civil War, with them starting the production cycle of the Victory-class Star Destroyers near the end of the Clone Wars, then onto the Imperator Mark I and Mark II class Star Destroyers, and finally the Tector-class Star Destroyers. These ships served heavily in the Civil War, being prominent assault and defense ships during the Battle of Endor. But what about fighters? You know, the ones that whiz about in between capital ships. Well, those are manufactured by Sienna Fleet Systems, who construct all of the Empire's famous TIE models of fighters. The TIE fighter family is very large, with a lot of these models being suited for many different purposes such as assault, dogfights, bombing runs, intercepting, scouting, defense, and so much more. As well as that, they produce the many shuttles and dropships that are used to ferry stormtroopers to the ground, or take VIPs to different locations throughout the galaxy, or transport people between ships. A notable shuttle would be the Imperial Lambda-class T4A shuttle, which is used extensively for travelling between locations or from ships to planets and so on, especially by the Emperor and Vader. Now, let's talk about droids. Droids are a prevalent part of the galaxy, and these mechanical companions' usefulness is no exception in the Empire, with many droids being used for roles where an organic being is not normally needed, such as protocol and security, hacking, janitorial duties, ship maintenance, ship control, protection, and so on. The notable manufacturers responsible for these droids would be Industrial Automation to begin with, who are famous for their R-series of droids, which see wide-scale use within the Empire and throughout the galaxy, with these droids serving in ship engineering and hacking roles, as well as field medics for the troopers sometimes. These are extremely versatile droids, accompanying other droids through battle stations and ships while keeping an eye out for intruders. They also carry digital information and data across ships and planets, as they are very durable and are able to endure the toughest of conditions, which also makes them suitable as search and rescue droids. Cybot Galactica is a droid manufacturer responsible for their Protocol or 3PO series of droids. These droids are utilised for a multitude of different roles which tend to lean towards catering and welfare of the owners they serve. In the case of the Empire though, protocol droids are used for security, mainly working in planetary border controls or scanning ships entering Imperial occupied worlds for illegal items and so on. They perform janitorial duties on board capital ships, keeping the halls, decks and rooms clean and sanitary for the troopers and officers that live in it. They also tackle problems which require problem solving and provide translations for many different languages all across the galaxy, and you can even find some in roles such as bounty hunting or engineering, but it is rare though. Another model of droid would be the KX series security droid, or Imperial security droid, which as I'm sure you can guess is used for protection, security and defence. These droids are manufactured by Arakid Industries and are utilised for defending Imperial bases, ships and complexes that hold valuable assets to the Empire, such as a person, item or information and so on. They are ruthless and can easily outmatch an organic being in terms of speed, power, brute strength and intelligence, and are definitely droids that are not to be messed with. Arakid also produced the famous Imperial Viper probe droids, which scan and scout about for rebel holdouts, bases and fleets. And by the way, all of this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to droid manufacturing, so we will move on. Now, the troopers of the Empire need weapons if they are to enforce Imperial law, so that is why there is a select number of weapons and arms manufacturers that supply the trooper corps with weapons they can use for fighting. Notable weapons producer would be Blastech Industries, who make the famous E11 blaster rifle commonly seen throughout the galaxy, and is used very prominently by stormtroopers and other members of the Imperial Armada. Blastech also produced the DH-17 blaster pistol, A300 blaster rifle, DL-18 blaster pistol, and DL-44 heavy blaster pistol, which is a weapon favoured by famous rebel Han Solo. Another weapons manufacturer would be Circa Arms, who produce rifles and so on that are used by several famous bounty hunters throughout the galaxy. They also provide combat gear and battle armour for protection against firearms and blasters that can prove fatal in one shot. Despite that, this company's reputation is rather unsavoury, which for the sake of my own position in the Empire I will not go into much about them. With that, I think we shall conclude. Overall, the galaxy has many different companies and manufacturers, all vying to compete with each other and make a profit while stabbing each other in the back. This aspect is only amplified by the presence of the Empire, and as said before, these companies are all looking to stay on the Empire's good side and provide them with all sorts of tech to enforce control and fear among the citizens of the galaxy. The corporations are also the main reason why the Empire is so revered, as the ships and weapons that have been provided to them are some of the best and top-notch that these manufacturers have to offer. Years of planning and construction since the early days of the Clone Wars have all been in preparation for the inevitable rise of Palpatine's Empire. A perfect example of this would be the DS-1 Mobile Battle Station, or Death Star as it's also known. A true symbol of the Empire's might, and a weapon that is feared across the galaxy for its destructive capabilities, the Death Star plans were in the works since the beginning of the Clone Wars by the Separatists, or number of factions that made up the Separatists, and conceived by the Geonosians to be given to Palpatine. And come the age of the Empire, the Death Star was completed, all thanks to the corporations and companies that helped construct it for Palpatine and the Empire.